Hi, everyone, and welcome. Yvonne Heath here, Love Your Life to Death. And I am so excited on this celebration of National Grief Awareness Day. I have my friend, we're friends, Tara, just so you know,
Yes.
Tara Noble, who has extraordinary experience. I'm so excited that we're having this conversation. We actually met a couple of years ago in Kelowna for the Huntington's Society of Canada, the conference. And now you're on a new journey, and I'm so excited. Welcome, Tara. How are you today?
I am really great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about this conversation and so excited to see you again.
Well, it is absolutely wonderful to reconnect. And so share a little bit about your background and why I thought we need to have Tara have as part of this conversation.
Sure. Well, I have been a social worker for many years. I've been in the field for 22 years and had an amazing career working with families and children and individuals who face so many different challenges. And I am also a grief therapist. I do that in my private practice and also as a collective with the Andrea Warnick consulting team,
Yes.
which is an amazing team of amazing grief therapists that work with all ages and all types of grief, which is really cool because, we even get referrals for pets who have died. And we recognize that grief comes in so many forms. So yeah, this is just the next part of my journey and in private practice, and with part of my focus being on grief and really loving the direction that we're going with open communication about grief, supporting people, bringing kids into the mix in really meaningful ways. So I'm excited to be here.
Oh my goodness. You know that you're in the right field when you get excited when people say we're going to talk about grief, because my 27 years of nursing, I realized we do not talk about, plan, and prepare for grief before grief arrives, when we're trying to navigate through in a crisis and there's so many other emotions. And first of all, I met Andrea Warnick at Bereavement Ontario. We were both network event. We were both speakers. Fell in love with her. How do you not love Andrea?
How do you not?
You have to. And she just has such a beautiful way to help people navigate through. And what you do, and on her website it says helping families, professionals, volunteers, and communities support grieving children, youth, and adults.
Yes.
This is all of us. We all, right? It takes a village to support
It takes a village
through grief. So let's talk about that, because I speak often about, we do need our professionals. Grief therapists, my goodness, we need you. When I'm grieving, I call a therapist. I'm not a professional. When I'm grieving, I'm a grieving person.
exactly.
Right? And we need our community members, and we need to normalize these conversations. So can you chat about the importance of first involving children and community in the grief process?
Sure. I think, anybody who's in the grief world, I think, has a vision that we don't have to fear these conversations, that if we talk about death and dying in a way that is supported, then we don't feel so alone. And as somebody with like my own grief journey, I recognize exactly what you said. There were so many people we needed in our personal grief journey that helped us along the way to talk about how to plan for death and dying. What do individuals want? What do individual family members need? How might that differ from the friends of somebody who is dying or who has died? And recognizing that if we talk about these things, there are ways to navigate and have different needs met and have conversations that people couldn't even imagine. In my professional world, I talk about grief as an ice cream scoop going into our brain. And it's just like, it goes and it takes out the part that problem solves, that can focus, and that can emotionally regulate. So at a time when we're talking about such sensitive things and emotions are at their highest, our brains are working not in their best capacity.
And you get brain freeze.
You do, yeah. And so how How do you access people who can organize your thinking, help you think about things that you've never had to think about before? Think about involving kids. And I think this is a big thing I'd love to highlight is adults so desperately want to protect kids.
Mm.
And that's something as a grief counselor I see over and over again. I don't want to hurt them. I don't want them to feel more upset than they need to. I don't want to worry them. They shouldn't have to be doing this.
Mm.
I agree with all those comments wholeheartedly, but what we've come to know about kids is the more information they have, the more accurate and honest conversations they can have, the more they can be included in
Oh my
meaningful
God.
ways, the less anxiety, the less worry, the less regret
Mm.
or questions that they have to be left with on their own. And so I think it's so cool that we get to have these conversations because I get to say to parents, I love that you want to protect your kids.
Mm.
Can I help us understand how we might protect them more accurately?
Oh my
Or,
goodness. Yes. Is
right?
everybody listening right now? Can you replay that several times?
Yeah.
We're not hurting
And
our
best
children.
intentions, right?
Yes, when we care, right? And we do want to protect our children.
Mhm.
However, when life happens and grief happens and death happens, that is the truth and that is a part of their journey. And do
Yeah.
you agree that I when I was writing my book, I said, I always look around and make sure my children can't hear it because I said our twins were 9 at the time. I said they were kind of my experiment. Like we involved them in all
Yes.
the conversations, grief, death, dying. When our pug died, I fell apart and it was messy and gritty and we did it together. And they
Yeah.
realized like, oh my goodness, I can be a part of this grief journey and my heart is healing.
Mhm. And
Right?
what if we got to have conversations? I'm thinking about two things. You know, this idea that we've set up in the world that we're supposed to be happy. And I think, you know, I say this a lot. What an insurmountable goal, really. What if we lived our lives with the tools to manage all of the challenges and all of the hard things that we face as humans? And part of that being knowing what feels good, knowing what makes us happy, reveling in those times, but being prepared for the times that aren't that.
Mm.
And I think, especially if we're looking at kids, growing little humans that have a rainbow of feelings and a rainbow of strategies, like that, then we're growing healthy humans who know how to navigate really challenging things. And then I think about adults, and if we could all just be genuine in our grief without the shoulds or
Mm.
the insidious things that we've come to learn that don't really play out accurately in grief. Like, I don't know anything or anybody that had something miraculous happen at a year mark in grief.
Right.
A year
People
means you
have
have
that
been
vision.
through
Yes.
a year.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't feel this sad. I should
Mm.
feel more sad. I should be thinking about them more. I shouldn't be sitting on my bed. What if we took the should out of
Stop
grief and
shitting on
said,
yourself. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
I
said, how do you feel and what do you need?
Oh gosh, oh my gosh, this is like music. This is so beautiful because we are so hard on ourselves,
Yes.
right? And we are compassionate. We just want to fix it and we don't want anyone to hurt. And the truth
Yes.
is, grief is a part of this living and loving, and it is worth it. And our hearts will
Absolutely.
heal if we
Mhm.
learn to take better care of ourselves and each other and allow all of those emotions. Allow
Yeah.
yourself, allow your humanness. You will never, and forget the polite conversation, right? How are you?
Right.
Oh, I'm okay, thank you. When you're not,
Yep.
people are afraid to ask me that question because they're like, Yvonne will tell you the truth. Like if she's not fine, she's going to say, I'm a hot mess today. So be
Yeah.
prepared. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could all do that?
Hmm. I am testing the waters right now because this is going to sound crazy, but my cat died. I have had my cat for 15 years. He
Oh,
was my buddy. He was my partner in crime. And people say, oh, how you doing? And I still say, I'm really sad and my eyes water and I miss him so much. And there are the people who have become so accustomed to me in the world that go, oh, here we go. We're really going to talk about this.
She wants to tell you all about her cat. Yes.
And then I get the people that say, are you going to get a new one?
I know, right? It's like, I just, I now have, I just tell people, you know what, I'm going to tell you, like, I'm really sad right now. You don't have to fix it. Just be sad with me. I'm going to cry. Yeah. Because I loved my cat. And you know what, ironically, when I was a single parent, got my son a cat. And when that cat died, the cat was 16, and it was my heart was broken. And here is a beautiful part of that story, because our twins were home. They were 11. This cat had a stroke, and we were able to hold that cat, take turns, and bawl our eyes up. I looked like a blowfish for 5 hours. Mm-hmm. My children were able to be present in that hard grief, and we literally loved that cat till their last breath. Isn't that, right? It's heartwarming and heart-wrenching, right?
Yeah.
All of it. Because that's
what an amazing tool to have, right? To know I can feel that. I have support, and I can move beyond it and still enjoy the things that are coming my way. And then when my grief hits me, I go, yeah, I can feel it right now too.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I think this brings up something too, because I actually had to say goodbye to my furry friend during COVID. Oh. And just thinking about grief during these times too, and all the challenges that families have come up against about not being able to be in hospitals, not being able to have funerals, celebrations of life.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's been really challenging, and really talking with families about creative ways to celebrate people, or have remembering services in ways that are beyond what we've ever had to think about before.
Oh my goodness. It's so important right now more than ever. And I love that you shared that. And I want people to know that it's okay not to be okay, and look for resources and support. So Tara, share. I know there's so many wonderful resources we can share, and I'm going to post them, because we need to support one another and reach out. I encourage everyone, reach out when you need help, when you're grieving, no matter what you are grieving, because it is challenging, and look for support. And so where can they reach out for great information?
So AndreaWarnock.com is a great resource for anyone. Yes. There's kidsgrief.ca. There's virtual hospice. There's a ton of different resources. And I think the other BFO, Bereaved Families of Ontario, is another. And goodgrief.ca. And I think we can post a lot of different things. I think the other thing that I would love to highlight right now is, because COVID has happened, there have been really creative ways that we've never had before for people to come together. Yes. And online virtual groups and connections like that. So even if you are somewhere where there's not a lot of grief resources, because we've had to adapt and become virtual, there's a lot more resources for people.
There are so many, yes. And reach out. I just say to everybody,
don't be alone.
Don't be alone. Don't be alone, even if it's virtual. I mean, this is a beautiful connection. We get to see each other and say hello, and face to face, and those things are possible. So Tara, thank you so much for all that you do. I know, and Andrea, and I know your whole team, you do so much to help people on their grief journey and find joy in life again. And on this National Grief Awareness Day, what a perfect way to connect, or time to connect. I want to post those resources and tell people you are never alone, right?
And don't sit feeling alone and isolated when you don't have to.
Do not have to ever. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you for including me.
All right, bye now.